Okay, so today's class is on natives and drought hardies. Now I got to give you my take on what native is. If we just use the local natives, I don't think there's enough choice, at least in my world. And so I expand that, and I really call it Western natives. So I get some of the Rocky Mountain hardy folks, the New Mexico hardy stuff, and I'll even sprinkle in a few drought hardy plants from around the world. And so we've got some of those. So it's things that are really tough, that take less care, less water, that's really the class. And so now who Water's Garden is in this whole scheme of plants, we don't do just natives. We heavily skew towards those natives. But we obviously, to keep a place this size open, I can't just talk to native folks. There's not enough of you. I need more to pay the mortgage each month. And so we strongly influenced into edibles. So I mean, vegetables and herbs are a big piece of our business. But that's not native. That's very garden intensive, very water, very nutrient rich. It takes a gardener to have a vegetable garden, but that's a major part of our business. Fruit trees, big part of our business. We're the only place in town that really does fruit trees really well. None of those are drought hardy. Well, I can't say none. Gooseberries, we can get into really specialized Victorian kind of edibles. We do have some of those. If that's your gig, I can point you in that direction. Currants. There's some real old-fashioned type of edibles that you can use, but I can't just keep the business going on just fruit trees. I got to be more. And then we also are big on perennials, flowers, foo-foo, fluffy, you women know. Okay? The colored stuff. So we love all the flower. I'm a flower gardener. It's my therapy. I go out in the morning and I sip my tea and I deadhead and I commune with my flowers, and it just makes me feel better. So I come on to the day and deal with people all day. So that's part of my therapy. So we do way more. Some people get mad at me because I don't do just natives. Well, why don't you find a life and go do something with yourself? But we're way more. But we do have the largest selection of natives in basically northern Arizona. If you want to do natives, but it's way more than just that. We don't just specialize. So with that precursor out of the way, what I did for us today is I put together a collection of different native drought hardy plants, Western natives, that have different looks. So some of you from the Midwest, you want to bring your Midwest look to you. I've got a mix that you can put in the ground that will fit that cabin that you bought. I've got hardcore you folks from the Northwest that want a Phoenix home landscape. You want saguaros. I don't know how many people want saguaros. No, they don't grow up here. It's too cold. Actually, most of your cactus, they don't grow up here. There's really only 2 or 3 that really grow. Now, we have hundreds in the state of Arizona, but they all grow down the desert. Some of you will be tempted to go buy those cactus and bring them up the hill and plant them, and they will be fabulous. Oh, they will look so good until about Thanksgiving. And then it gets down to your mid-20s. They melt, they freeze, they turn into black mush, they fall over, and they die. And then you've got to do it again. Yeah, but at least you have your drip system set up, right? So at least you just pull out the dead one, put in the... So don't make that mistake. Really do your homework, or you'll be disappointed the next season. So those cactus are annuals up here. They live for the year and then they die in the winter. That's an annual. Perennials are what we're focused on here. Perennials are, you plant once, they keep coming back year after year after year. That's what we want, I think, in our core landscape. At least the backbone of the landscape should be perennials. And then you accessorize with some of your annual color. Okay? Thought we'd go over a few collections and then and why they're so tough, what to look at for what makes a plant really unique and hardy in an arid climate, and then how do you plant it? Because you can't just chuck it in the ground and walk away and expect it to grow. It doesn't work that way. You've got to take a native and root it out for 2 years before the root mass is large enough for it to go on its own, for most of these plants. And the harder your soil is, the more clay you have, the longer it's going to take for that root structure to get out. If it's more sandy, if you're up towards a granite mountain area, you get that layer of just crushed granite. There, the roots go pretty quick. It needs to because the water is so just flushes through the soil so fast, it needs to have a huge root mass to make it through. And so let's start by how to plant, shall we? Just how do you put it in the ground? Then we can go to watering. Maybe we'll cover watering at the very end. It's less important with this collection for the water needs. You do have to get out of this habit though of spitting on your plants. So you kind of run the drip irrigation for 15 minutes and then turn it off. You do that every day. That's terrible for these plants especially. You'll encourage a real shallow-rooted plant that doesn't have a deep root mass. So you got this really robust plant that never gets enough root mass to carry itself. It'd be like that 50-year-old kid still living at home, still dependent on you, still trusting you, still needing you to feed it water every day. You don't want 50-year-old kids who are growing out in the yard. You want, independence. I've got my own paycheck. I can earn my own. How to plant. So let's take one that's not so pokey. Here's a traditional 5-gallon bucket. This is your standard size in all nurseries. Trees are grown in this. Shrubs are grown in this. Big perennials are grown in this. It's your standard size, 5-gallon bucket. I don't think it's actually 5 gallon. I think it's 4.67 or something, but they call it. The term is 5 gallon. When you're digging, this is critical. Guys, you need to listen to me. Guys with backhoes, you really need to listen to me. Guys with jackhammers, really listen. Do not go down to China. You only want to go this deep. Okay? This is really hard for you guys with heavy equipment. You don't want a lot of fluff down here. Otherwise, when that soil compacts, this thing starts to settle and sink in the soil. All of a sudden, this plant is in a divot and it will drown come the monsoon season. These are really frugal, thrifty plants on water. If you overdo it, they will die. You're more likely to kill these plants with overwatering than with underwatering, okay? So only go as deep as the bucket. All natives, all of them, the roots go sideways. They don't go down. They don't have a taproot. That's a myth. Or that's a Midwest thing. But they actually have topsoil this deep. We don't have that. Our topsoil is like this deep, like inches. And so the plants know that, so the roots come up and they start looking for the nutrients and the water. As the monsoons come, they're looking for these flash flood events where they can pick up a lot of water quickly at the surface. So with that, we want to dig a bucket on either side, kind of round. So 3 times the width, same depth. That's really easy, okay? And then kind of saucer shaped, so it'll be kind of a cereal bowl look. Okay, we don't want just straight sides where the roots hit the sides, kind of go boom. I can't get through that. We want to trick them into moving into that surrounding soil. Saucer shaped, okay? Now, you've got your hole, all that dirt outside the hole. Some of you are going to need to really filter your soil. Some of you won't have any soil left. It's all rock, chunks of debris, old roots, construction material. You'll find all kinds of crazy stuff down there. Screen it. Anything bigger than a golf ball, get it out of there. Okay? So then we'll have whatever's left over, that native earth, we're going to amend that with some mulch. This is important. There's no living material in most of your soils. Just dead dirt. Dead dirt doesn't grow plants. Dead dirt just has things die or sit there and wait, and it doesn't grow. So this plant will be in there for 3 years, and still it's the same size as it originally was when you first put it in. That's a sign of dead dirt. We want to encourage new mycorrhizal colonies, new worms, the things that live in the soil, fungi and things. We want to encourage that so the plants look at that and go, oh, the soil's alive. I want to root here. There's something going on. This has got to be good. The core to that is add some nutrition back into the soil. That's compost, organics, not manure. It's too hot. Composted materials, organics. I would say not fresh materials. Sometimes you can head over to Sundog Ranch Road, pick up fresh wood chips from the city. Not that. That's too raw. We want it composted first. So composted organics, okay? You want to amend about 1 shovel's worth of compost to 3 shovels worth of native earth. Okay? So about 25%. I've cheated and gone up to about 50-50. If I had a big boulder, it's iceberg, looks big, innocent, and all of a sudden you pulled out this huge boulder out of this hole. I've cheated and kind of gone up to about half. Once you go above half, the soil gets too gooey, too sticky. It's just too much. So 25 to 50% in that range. If you need more than that, add some topsoil, or if you need some filler. Okay. In my holes, I always add when I'm blending. I've done it two ways. I find there's no real difference. I blended it in with the mulch and the native earth. This food. It's a 744 organic food that we put together here. This is like magic for natives. This is a slow release, just real slow, long release food. Perfect for encouraging root growth. Perfect for getting the evergreens to get really green. This is all-purpose plant food. This is our #1 seller. We sell truckloads of this. Those of you, how many have used this before? Okay, good. I knew it was amongst friends. Anyway, this really does work. Okay, I'll sprinkle the recommended amount either on top of the soil after it's all planted, or I'll blend it in. I find it works the same either way. If I've got a big planting job, I'll just plant them all and then sprinkle this all at the very end. If I'm just doing onesie-twosies, I'll blend it into the soil, actually, in that soil mix. For myself, I'm trying to go with virtually no water. That doggone cholla keeps wanting to poke me. Man, he already bit me in the shoulder blade. I use AquaBoost crystals. This would be really, really important if you all are not using drip irrigation. Okay? These are soil polymers. They hold 200 times their weight in water. So this thing turns into like a huge bucket of gelatin, basically. So it keeps the moisture right at the root ball. And we've infused it with mycorrhizal colonies. So the beneficial fungi that grow in the soil naturally, we know that a lot of your soils are dead. We're trying to front load or reintroduce the beneficials back into your soil, and so this will do that. So now you got a product that encourages new root mass, additional roots, deeper roots, longer roots, and it holds moisture in. If you don't have a drip irrigation, I say this is an absolute must. I use it all the time, just because I want more mycorrhizal colonies. It's called AquaBoost crystals. AquaBoost. I know it looks a little cheesy. We put it in a ball jar because the little gals package it here in the back at the garden center. This is the cheapest form, easiest container we could find. And so it's something we make local. It does help with natives. What's that? We would take these and recycle them if you're, or do canners. You're probably safe. You just clean it up and peel off the label and can. So we'd love to have them back. When I'm all done, I'll sprinkle the recommended amount in the soil, or at the bottom of the soil, bottom of the hole. Many times I'll sprinkle at the bottom of the hole and just kind of start backfilling. I blended it into the soil as well. Get it where the roots are going to grow. That's what you want to do. A little bit goes a long ways. I used it in my smaller container once, because containers, they dry out like that in like June. They dry out so fast. So I'm going to AquaBoost. This will be great. And I didn't prehydrate it. I just put it in dry. And then I watered the plant. It started to levitate out of the soil. So as the crystals swelled up and they gathered all that water. And so recommended rate, and if it's a really small planting or small raised bed or small pot, maybe prehydrate it beforehand. Then I water it in with root and grow. Now, B1. Your grandparents used to use B1. We stopped selling that about 5-7 years ago. There is no difference when you use water or B1. This is university testing. No difference between water and B1. So we just stopped selling. So it's just packaged water. There's no difference. It changed the pH a little bit, but that was it. So it didn't actually increase root mass. You want to add a rooting hormone. You want to add a product that will encourage new root mass, larger roots. This is like open heart surgery. When you pull that plant out of that pot, it is major trauma. I mean, you don't even understand. It's like open heart surgery with brain surgery and like foot surgery all at once. So you pull this thing out, put it in the ground, it needs to be stabilized. This is what stabilizes it. And then when you fracture some of those new root hairs, the tiny, tiny root hairs, you'll break some of those. And so if you could add some of this root and grow it, where that break was, you'll get 2 or 3 new root hairs starting to form out of that. So this is what will encourage it. I'll usually give my plants this every 2 weeks until I see the plant stabilized. Once I see new growth, new flowers, things are kind of taking, you can kind of tell it's taking a breather going, oh, I'm happy here. I'm going to grow. Then I'll cut it off of the root and grow and just let the fertilizer kind of take it on its way. Okay? Root and grow is the name. So this is concentrate. This makes gallons and gallons. Just like 3 tablespoons in a gallon of water is what you use. Usually I'll have my watering can just sitting there waiting to go in the wings. So I get it all planted, I quickly water it into this. Okay? That's how you plant. In a nutshell, that's it. Critical. The main thing, don't get tricked into doing what the valley, what the desert dwellers want you to do. That is, have everything in a divot. It'll help you water the thing. It'll help with rain harvest. Oh, everything will be good. No, it won't. These plants will drown if you do that. Because the monsoonal rain will come in the summers. You'll have your regular drip irrigation going that twice a week. And then all of a sudden you'll get an afternoon rain a couple times. This plant stays wet for a couple weeks, and then you start to get root rot. Things start to fade and drop. Okay? Let's go over the plants. And I have 3 different collections for you. I've got a cabin, or just kind of in the woods collection. I've got a hardcore, I want to look like Phoenix. I have Phoenix Envy, I've got that mix. And then I've got just regular natives that look kind of just sexy natives that are just really tough that you can intermix. And I try to put trees, shrubs, and perennials all together. So it kind of gets you a collection that would work in a landscape and kind of look good together kind of stuff. Why don't we start here? This is kind of the cabin stuff. This is actually a native, true native. Maybe I should get let's see. I'll just use this cart, I guess. So get this tree out of the way. This is an actual native. It grows wild up in the Bradshaws. It's the low growing one though. The repens, or the creeping mahonia, grows wild. This is a cousin. It's so tough. We've encouraged 3 different heights now at the garden center. We've got one that grows chest high, one that grows hip high, and one that grows ankle high. Okay? They're all really tough. Oregon grape has a bright yellow flower in spring. After that pollinates, we'll start to get these berries. You can see it's just starting to get the berries on. It'll turn into, you can actually make grape jelly out of it, that kind of stuff. Quite honestly, you'll never get to eat any because the birds think they've died and gone to heaven. When these things ripen out, birds are all over them. The reason this is so tough is it has a kind of a holly leaf. It's not related to holly, but it has a holly leaf, but it's very leathery feeling. It's very tough, so it's very waxy, so it's very frugal. It doesn't perspire in its moisture, so it's very, very frugal on the moisture because of that leathery coating that it has. That's what makes it so tough. It is evergreen. This is its color. When it's out more in the sun, it'll have kind of purple hue through the winter, and then it'll just have this nice green look. You can see the new growth, new leaves starting to come out now. Okay? Oregon grape. That blends really well with, you're starting to see these to elongate and bloom. This is red hot poker. This is flamenca. This is a dwarfed variety. Sometimes they get pretty tall with these orange, spiky, almost pineapple-y looking flowers to them. This is a little bit shorter, a little bit brighter color. Very, very tough. The reason these are so tough, the roots are very fleshy. Like even more like a carrot or something. Very thick, stores a lot of moisture in its actual root mass. It'd be really critical for this plant to have drainage. All the more reason to plant it correctly. If this gets in a heavy clay soil, for sure it's doomed. It'll die. Okay? Put it out there in the yard and abuse it. Kick dirt at it. Talk dirty to it. I mean, just abuse this. It'll be fine. Okay? Every year it blooms. I cut mine back in the winter because it'll look kind of rough. It'll die, have a lot of foliage. It dies back. I'll cut off the old spin flowers, cut it back. Mine are already up about this tall with fresh new foliage, starting to set the new flower buds. Very long flower cycle. So good perennial.
What's that called again?
This is red hot poker. Okay? We sell 2 or 3 varieties of red hot poker. This is where I mix in some other non-natives, but very tough. This is rosemary. It fits this Midwestern. I want lush, full. I have too much rock. I want to soften it up with some tough foliage. This is the mix. Okay, this is what you'd go with. This is just that Tuscan rosemary. The shrub gets up about this tall. It's also called barbecue rosemary because you can harvest these stems, peel off the foliage, and use them as skewers on the barbecue. So it tastes really good. It's actually, that's a good idea. It really makes pork and chicken taste delicious. It has that great fragrance to it, and it's been in bloom for 2 months, maybe more. It's been in bloom since February. So that real bright violet color to it. Then it'll take a little break in summer, come back into bloom again. It's bloom most of the year. This is a great little plant. Not native. Don't cut it back. I'll give it a haircut possibly. I like that wild in my yard. I like the wild look to it, so I kind of let it go, and I'll harvest what I want to use culinary-wise into the garden. Okay. So the reason this is so tough, notice how small the leaves are. So the leaves are not exposed very much. Plus, all the herb family seems to be very, very tough. So oregano, it's a weed. You'll plant one, you'll have dozens all over the yard. Creeping thyme, you'll have dozens all over the yard. Rosemary, it'll just creep and keep going. Just keep, the herbs do really well because they're loaded up with oils. So the oil within the structure of the plant doesn't perspire as quickly as, let's say, a water. So oil doesn't evaporate as quickly as water does. Makes it very frugal. Okay. Deer grass grows wild. It's just a true native. This is grass country, not cactus country. So lots of prairies. Bear grass grows wild. Everyone wants to plant pampas grass, but I think bear grass is far better than that humongous pampas grass. The plumes aren't quite as nice. This is a short grass. It only gets up even below hip high. It has this nice pink flower to it. Summer through fall, it kind of waves. Up where it's kind of windy, grass adds a lot of drama, lots of motion, lots of artistry into the landscape. So I think we need to plant more grasses. Good, true hardy native. Treat this like your trees on that drip irrigation system. It'll do just fine. And then this one I have out by my mailbox. This is Gaura, G-A-U-R-A, Gaura. We have 2 or 3 varieties. There's one that's real pink, there's one with purple foliage, there's one with the white that's more the native variety, truly. This one's tough. The foliage only gets this tall, but the flowers will elongate very high above, float above the foliage. This one, the hummingbirds love. Hummingbirds just, if you have a hummingbird feeder, put this anywhere close. You'll have more hummingbirds. It's a really great one. I put this out by my mailbox because it's right out there where the irrigation just doesn't quite reach. And this one does great out there. And then it reseeds, comes up other places. It's a great little native plant, very frugal. You can blunder your way through and make this thing grow. Okay, I will cut it back. It is a true perennial. I'll whack it off, and then it'll start coming back. It's already up. It basically looks just like this in the landscape. So Gaura, G-A-U-R-A.
How about rabbits? Do rabbits like
Rabbits do not eat this. Javelina, but don't bother this. Deer don't bother. Is that the question? Bloom season is from basically spring through fall. Basically all the time, except for winter.
Is it always white?
No, it comes in multiple colors. Now, we're trying to film this so we can get it on, so I can't take a lot of questions. Stay with me. At the very end, we'll have a lot of questions, okay? And then, because it's cabin or Midwestern mix, have you noticed how nice the spruce and pine are here? Of course, we're surrounded by pine forests, juniper forests. So all of your evergreens, many of your evergreens are very tough. Most of your evergreens, if you're going to kill them, it will be from overwater. They're very sensitive to soggy roots. They'll tend to rot. From cypress, cedars, pine, spruce, very sensitive. So kind of watch that one. So again, that planting direction we started with, very important for your evergreens. I brought this one because everyone knows Colorado spruce. This is a globe spruce. It turns into a great big ball, like a globe size. It'll get about this big, and it's related to the Colorado spruce or the Fat Albert spruce, but it's more formal looking. So you can have very tough, low water using formal plants as well. So you can have an unusual kind of Midwestern or Eastern landscape and still have it very frugal in water. It's doable, very doable. Okay. Honeysuckle. It is drought hardy. This can be a weed. Okay, put it on a drip system, treat it like a tree, and it just keeps spreading. If you've got a fence line, let's say that's old chain link fence, that dates your house in the 1970s, this could soften that up, make it look like the secret garden kind of stuff. Have that fragrance. It's the same one that you used to, as a kid, pick the stamens out, suck on the nectar. That's this one. I brought this one because it's a purple honeysuckle. It's related to the Halls, which is one we all grew up with, but it has that purple hue to it. Also, the foliage is a little bit darker color. Honeysuckle does so well here. We tend to probably have 6 or 7 different varieties at the garden center at any given time, even right now. Different varieties. They all do equally as well. The main difference, flower color. What color and the fragrance somewhat. Okay, good for erosion control. This one I use a lot. This is, anytime you see the word sage or salvia, you know you got a great plant for Arizona. For the mountains of Arizona, really tough. This is a salvia. Meadow sage is a common name. I planted a couple of these in my backyard. My backyard is hardcore native, lush, low maintenance, high color. We've got a party tonight after work. Lots of friends are coming over. The landscape will live up to what you would want it to look like if you owned a garden center. It is very nice. I planted a couple of these. They're already starting to bloom. About 5 years later, I now have like dozens of these. They're almost becoming a problem. I'm popping them out going, too many, throw them away, compost, get too many. So I kind of thin them or do some maintenance to them. And I keep the ones that I want where I want them. So they're going on their own at this point. No irrigation whatsoever. They look like this all season. Also, a benefit of sage or salvias, they are part of the herb family. And so animals don't eat them. So javelina, deer, rabbits, leave them alone. Tough. Okay? Because it's this is not a native, but because it's more that Midwestern kind of mix, lush, kind of exotic look, I've introduced into this mix lavender. Lavender, again, is an herb, so animals aren't going to eat it. But the reason lavender is so thrifty on its water use, you notice the leaves, much like the rosemary, very small. And in addition, the leaves are coated in this textured kind of, I don't know, it's just like fuzz on there. So it's coated, so it shades the leaf, and then it's got a small leaf with a very long bloom cycle. These things are tough. Put it right out there in full, blistering, hot sun. Water it a couple times a week, and this thing is going to bloom like crazy. Gets about this tall, ball shape, blooms all the time. And that great fragrance. So I plant this in an oxblood red container in the front yard. So when you enter my house, you kind of greet it with this huge lavender that's been growing in there for years, and it's fragrance. It's blooming, fragrant. It's up there where you can see it, where lavender should be. And then you can harvest it and use it for potpourris or culinaries, that kind of stuff. Very tough plant. What else do I have here? Lastly, you're seeing these start to bloom all over town. Now, this usually comes in yellow, sunspot or sun gold. Usually it's a sun color, potentilla or potentella if you're from the Midwest. Potentilla in the South, don't pronounce the double L's. Potentillas. This one's white. Comes in apple blossom, kind of a pinky. Yellow is the most popular because it's just so bright. Brought this one just because it's unusual. This one gets about knee-high, ball-shaped, blooms basically from now until fall. If you're out in that wildland interface, we get a lot of wildlife pressure. Animals don't like the taste of this. It looks delicious, but they don't like this. The reason this is so tough, again, you notice there's a theme, small leaves. You don't have these great big exposed leaves, so it's got a small leaf with a massive root mass, root structure. So these things are just tough as nails. Potentilla. Lastly, the tree to accessorize, I brought golden rain tree. There's a massive golden chain tree. So it just gets these flowers that bloom down. It kind of looks like a locust, but a little more luxurious than a locust. There's a massive one down at the Charlotte Hall Museum. It must be this big around. It's been there for 100 years. Really, really done well. It kind of reminds me of the purple robe locust we'd mentioned before, the big purple flowers, only this one's got the yellow flowers. Real tough, hardy tree. Again, it'll be sensitive. You can't treat this like a willow or a cottonwood, sit in the middle of the lawn, have it thrive. It won't like that. It needs to be neglected or watered very deeply and then let it dry out and breathe in between water cycles for this to do really well. This is a true shade tree. This thing is going to go from cute to huge in just a few years. Pretty strong grower. Okay.